Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 146. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth, and of course BB Lemon right across the street from the location in Houston. And we were just talking about BB Lemon actually earlier on the show. That's,
bacon.
Yeah, that Parmesan bacon there.
So good.
Oh my God. Okay, so whatever your politics are, if you're a cigar aficionado, or just a person who likes cigars who doesn't use the word aficionado, you've got to love Senator Marco Rubio, the Republican from Florida, because this man is on a one-man tear to basically try to save the cigar industry from unnecessary regulation. He spoke out this last week and said that Congress must act. These are his exact words. Congress must act to save the U.S. cigar industry. And, of course, what he's saying save it from is from this overwhelming and unnecessarily burdensome regulation. This guy... Save
it from Congress's own idiocracy.
Right. This guy is our strongest advocate for this thing. And he's so whichever side of the aisle you're on, you have to like Marco Rubio if you like cigars, because he's out there. He's advocating for cigars, and he's advocating for the cigar industry and for people who just enjoy having a good smoke every now and then. So thank you to Marco. He continues to put this out there, and we'll see. I sense there's some wavering, a great disturbance in the force, as it were. So we will see what happens. Speaking of a disturbance in the force, if you were anywhere near Las Vegas, Nevada this last week and sensed that something was different, is because Ian was on the move.
I was there.
And apparently some of his adventures have been gathered. We're going to be featuring quite a bit of this in the next several weeks across the show. But I think, is this kind of like a compilation, Adam? Is that what this is?
It's a mix of
this is a mix.
All I did was give him my iPad. I don't know what he's done with it.
Think of it like, like when a rapper in between albums will release a mixtape. That's what this is.
Nice.
This is the Ian mixtape from Vegas, and here it is on Smoking and Toasting.
Good to see you again.
Man, this guy's got to work on his golf game. He may be a good podcaster, but he's not a good golfer.
My mom.
Of course.
Same
Yeah,
beard.
that's
They
the
get us
resemblance,
confused.
right?
You know.
Awesome.
A guy no one cares about.
You know this guy, Alan Denny. camera.
All right, I guess that makes a little.
There wasn't
sense.
a whole lot of time while I was at that at the show.
Yeah.
Where I wasn't actually smoking a cigar.
I can believe that.
One of the coolest things is everyone there wants you. Like if they see you without a cigar, they're like,
They're putting
you don't
one
have
in
a
your hand.
cigar. Here's
Yeah,
a cigar.
yeah.
Try this.
That's you know what that is. That's heaven. That's
Yeah,
what that
it was a lot of
If
fun.
you-
And what's funny is like the very first shot on that where it's just me panning around the place to try and convey how huge it is.
Mm-hmm.
When I walked in, it's a little overwhelming, and
Mm-hmm.
so I walked around like a tourist in New York for about the first 30 minutes going. I just literally wandered, had no idea where anything was,
Yeah.
just wandered around, and then kind of got my bearings and went and started formulating a plan as to what booths to go. And I kind of was doing this swooping motion through there, especially with guys like Husto and Tom Poehler and Alan Denny and all the guys that I know, because if they were real busy, I didn't want to,
you didn't want to harsh their.
I didn't want to get in their business. So I kept swooping around, and if I saw them not doing anything, that's when I kind of attacked.
Well, I'm sure you had plenty of opportunity to see Alan Denny not doing anything. So
that guy was.
Yeah, he
all
was
those
working.
all
He was
those
working
guys
it,
were
wasn't he?
working
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
man. They were working hard.
Well, I can tell you that I firmly believe that if you live a good life and you're kind to people and animals, that when you die in some form, whatever it is, pearly gates, reincarnation, whatever it is, that my view of heaven is that if you're walking around without a cigar in one hand and a drink in the other, and someone sees you, they immediately say, "Would you like a cigar? Would you like a drink?" That's just my view. That's my view of heaven.
Nice.
I'll be applying for a tax exempt status soon.
I can get behind that. Yeah.
and working on that. So Marc Borel is here. Marc is the beverage director at the Rainbow Lodge. Has been involved in being beverage director, sommelier at a number of notable locations in the greater Houston area, and has really nailed it with the first bottle. So that was terrific. I'm still over here sipping on that. But Marc, it's time to move to the next thing you wanted us to taste, and tell us what this is.
Well, it's pink.
Yes, I
and
see
it's,
that.
it's nothing to be scared of.
Okay.
Big cigar smoking men. You can drink pink and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
This isn't the stuff that your mom may have drunk in the '80s. This is like the real deal, right?
Did this come out of a nice box?
Yes. A box with a bow on top.
It does have a screw cap, but that shouldn't.
That just says that your winery is modern.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. If it has a screw
like
cap.
99%
Yeah.
of the wines that come out of New
Yeah.
Zealand and Australia. So this is from William Chris, who you may recognize. It is a Texas winery. They are they're making wine from grapes exclusively in Texas, and that's I point that out for a reason. The law is now or currently that as long as the wine is made in Texas, you can put Texas made, but it doesn't really matter where the
Doesn't
grapes
matter where the grapes came
come from.
Right, yeah.
So there is some folks, some wineries pushing for a 100% Texas fruit clause, and why not? When every other region, you can't call it a Napa wine unless all the grapes come from Napa, right?
Right.
So the fact that Texas can, with so few grapes from Texas, I think is a tragedy. And so we at the Rainbow Lodge are very conscious of that. And I love all wine, and there are some really great Texas wines made out there.
So I'm really glad you brought this up, because one of my questions was going to be, is there, obviously Texas has got all kinds of different geography, but can you actually grow the grapes you need to make great wine
You can.
in the state of Texas?
Absolutely, you can. There was a gentleman by the name of McPherson who whose father decided to start planting some grapes and discovered which varietals were appropriate for everything about Texas.
The heat and the
the
soil.
heat,
and
the soil, the altitude, the distance from the water, all these the soil types. Texas is a big place. Texas is the size of
Yes.
France, and so you can get one side of the next, and it's a whole different thing. And so what Mr. McPherson did was kind of pioneer the appropriate varietals that are meant for Texas. The sad thing is, and Mr. McPherson lost a battle with this particular thing and then regained it again. But the sad thing is that these varietals, these Rhone and these Mediterranean style varietals, aren't as well known as Cabernet and Pinot.
Right.
And while we can grow a little bit of Cabernet, the Pinot just doesn't work. And what works are these Mediterranean varietals like Tempranillo, like Rhone varietals like Grenache, some things that you've never heard of like Aglianico. Those
You're
are
right. I've never heard of them.
these are the appropriate varietals. And when really great winemakers like the folks at William Chris are doing really great wine, they're using these varietals. This is a rosé made with Sangiovese, which is the arguably the most planted grape in Tuscany. Anytime you've had something from Chianti, I say that because that's a region, not a not a style of wine.
Not a style of wine. Yeah.
Anything from Chianti, it's got some Sangiovese in it. Anything that you find from Tuscany, the good majority of the wines from Tuscany have Sangiovese in it. So this is majority Sangiovese. There's a little bit of Riesling in here, but Riesling is not always sweet. This Riesling in this case gives it is a little bit of lift, some of that fruit and acid on the palate. And then there's a grape that we're going to talk about at the next wine, Mourvedre, which is a varietal that is indigenous to the northern coast of the Mediterranean, and the northern coast of Spain, and in south central France, where the next wine comes from. And so there's some Mourvedre in here as well. All the fruit here comes from the Texas High Plains.
Okay.
Up near Lubbock, they grow a lot of.
Is that a more grape-friendly region from a
it
soil
is.
and
it is. There's a
climate
lot.
standpoint?
There's a lot of Vinous vinifera grown in Lubbock. There are, I think, 7 different wine regions in Texas, and they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Some near Austin, like between Houston.
Yeah.
and Austin.
So you've got the hill country, and then in the middle of the hill country, there's another little area called I think it's called Fredericksburg, as the area around the city. But the hill country is a much larger area. There's one Fort Davis out on the west end, on the west side of Texas, and there's some over on the New Mexico, or they are rather the Arizona.
For anybody listening to this that's not from Texas, I want to give you just a simple idea about how big Texas is. We're in Houston right now.
Right.
If we were to drive straight down I-10 west and hit L.A., the halfway point is El Paso.
Yeah, it's
And
exactly
that's
right.
still an hour
Because
inside Texas.
I've made that drive when I moved to California, and that's
Right.
exactly what happened. I stopped in El Paso at the halfway point.
Yes,
and
you're still an hour
and
inside
still-
Texas.
Yeah,
at that
still
point.
had Texas
so
to go. Yeah.
just to give you an idea, like when he's talking about regions, these regions can be very far away from
yeah.
each
Well,
other.
doesn't Texas have other than Arctic? Doesn't it have every other climate at some place in
Sure,
in
yeah.
Texas? Yeah, so I believe it. This is a really good wine. It's a bit delicate, but not in a way that makes it feel like it's too frou-frou or too.
You actually
too fancy,
nailed
you know what I mean?
exactly what I was going to say about this. When you say Texas wine, I always expect anything
Right.
from Texas to be a little
To be
more
big and bold.
robust,
Right, yeah.
a little more bold, and this has a delicacy to it that's very nice.
But it works. It totally works.
Well, there's and that has to do with the how the wine is made. There's several different ways that rosé can be made. One is called the Saunier method, where they get all these red grapes, and they either press it or let it free run, and they pull a specific set of that juice out before the rest of it gets made into white wine, into red wine rather. Grapes. Wine is very much like tea. It's steeped. So these deep, rich skins stain basically the wine like your coffee or tea does, and it gives you a little tannic structure. So while this is juicy and certainly not sweet, but juicy and bright, it does have a structure, a tannic kind of structure to it.
it's not sweet, but it has a little bit of a tang to it.
Yeah.
You know,
And juicy is a good word for that too. I was appreciating that when you said it. I was like, that's the word.
That's exactly, how I would describe this
you know,
wine.
sometimes as a person that is maybe more attuned, I certainly know more about, but maybe more likely to drink spirits or craft beer. You think of stopping and ordering wine. You think, well, I like wine, but like I'm in the mood for that I don't know, that more maybe intense sort of experience. But both of these wines that we've had here so far have their own amount of intensity. Even though I said this is delicate, and it is, it has a certain amount of intensity on the palate, and it's really satisfying.
I can see this one especially. I can see this one going with a cigar that's a little more on the mild to medium as well, and something with not a lot of pepper in it. So something with a little more chocolatiness to it, or something like that. I can see that happening.
You have given me one of those Perdomo champagnes before.
That would go
wonderfully
wonderful
with this.
cigar to go with this.
You know, the Aladino Connecticut.
Yes.
I think, even though it's got a little more kick to it than like a champagne does, would really work
go
nicely
well,
with
yes.
this. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really interesting, and you know, there's not a lot of, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe the reason I just haven't seen it, but I don't feel like there's a lot of places out there that give you wine and cigar pairings.
So one of the guys, and I'm sure Adam will put it together at some point in time. One of the guys I spoke with at IPCPR actually makes wine and cigars, and so a lot of his cigars are made to pair with wines, and he gave me one to try. I will be doing that maybe for next week or the week after show.
Good.
I'll let Adam know, and
Look
then
forward to
we'll
that.
see about putting that interview on there. But I thought that was a very interesting take on it.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, for sure. Is this one on your
It is.
your list?
Yep,
at
it is on my
Rainbow Lodge?
list, and it goes for the exorbitant amount of $39
Nice.
A bottle?
a bottle.
Wow.
Yeah, I have
That's very impressive. at
absolutely. Well,
$39.
here's the thing: is I feel very strongly about this wine, and frankly, every rosé that we have on the list by the bottle and by the glass, for that matter, and how well it goes with our food.
the kind of
you know,
food
we were
that
talking
you're
about
going
pairings
with.
earlier. I think
Yeah.
that this is a great pairing for wild game. I think it's a great pairing for seafood and shrimp. You know, they say pink wine, pink food, so shrimp would go great with this as well. But it's one. It happens to be one of my favorite rosés, and the folks at William Chris are just doing such a great job at them. We're going to feature some of their some of their wines in October at a Texas themed wine dinner.
This makes me want to grill scallops.
Oh, doesn't it though?
Yeah, the char from the grill would go
Yeah.
really well.
Oh, doesn't that just sounds so good right now? Is rosé a style that is on the rise, or is it one that's
Oh yes,
that's been,
absolutely. It's with a bullet, man. This thing keeps getting more popular. People are just enjoying rosé all the time. And in Houston, when it's always rosé season,
Right.
I always have rosé by the glass. Always.
What causes a particular style to take off? Is it? I mean, could it be anything?
There was a movie about 12 years ago that sent sales of Merlot in the toilet. Unfortunately, it's coming back. Merlot is one of my favorite grapes, but I think that just the popularity of what's going on, 2-3 years ago or so, there was a drink that I believe it was Bon Appetit magazine created called the Frosé. And it's basically what they did is they put this in a margarita machine and let it go and see
Wow.
what would happen. And it's delicious. For several years we had Frosé on the list at Rainbow Lodge.
Nice.
Now there's still a bunch of people making Frosé out there. I find it a bit passé now. Frosé is passé. So that's my opinion alone. But I'm making a frozen drink with Riesling that we call the Friesling,
Oh, there you go. That only makes sense, right?
and
That
it's
only makes
really
sense.
great.
Do you come up with the name first or the drink first? That's the question.
Well, so I was approached with this name several years ago, and I thought, wow, that'd be kind of cool. And when I decided that while I love rosé and will always support rosé production and rosé on the list, Friesling sounds like a lot of fun, and so I created a drink around that.
That's awesome.
And the Friesling was born. It's beautiful.
Ian, I just want to make sure you would.
I
had
held
an
that up there
opportunity
just a little bit
Show
earlier,
that
but
label to the camera
I'll
while
hold
we're in
it
this
up a little
segment.
closer.
Okay, so we are going to take a break. When we come back, it is we're going to take a quick break from wine, and it is tequila time. The Tequila Mi Campo, the Reposado, a brand new tequila, or new to me. Let's put it this way. And I've got lots of tequila, so if you come across one I haven't had, or
That looks
am at
like
least
it may
not
have been
somewhat
opened
aware
before.
of, it was open. What do you mean? Looks like it may have been open. We will be back to open it yet again. Coming up, it's Smoking and Toasting.
because you got to do research.
That's right, research. Well, you know, my wife comes home and I'm like, no, so what are we going to drink?
You don't have to
She'll
explain
go,
to
"Well,
me.
I
I'm a
have
guy too. I get a new toy I want to play with.
Yes. I didn't have that much, as you can see, but
And actually, at my house, I cannot have an unopened bottle of something. My wife will immediately spot.